Hello there, and welcome to Weave Your Web. I am your host, Tor WebWeaver. Thank you for joining me. You will all be listening to this show on demand. This show is not live. The few live shows that we had in the past, they went a little bit higgledy-piggledy. So this is a pre-recorded show this time. I am very excited about this show. Just so you all know, this is going to be the season finale, if you like. Weave Your Web will be taking a short break. We will be back in the winter next year with a more polished format, I hope. just slightly more polished, a little bit less higgledy-piggledy. As always, if you want to keep in touch with myself, or if you want to get in touch regarding the show, please head over to www.torwebweaver.com. That's www.torwebweaver.com. That's where you can have a reading with me by email, live reading. You can send in questions for the show there, but you can also listen to past shows as well. And if you sign up for my newsletter, which is right at the bottom of every page on the website, you actually get a free psychic question just for signing up. Completely for free. As I said, I was very, very excited about the show. Well, I am very, very excited about this show. I've been excited about this show for weeks. I have somebody very, very special coming on. This lovely lady, I have to say, is probably the best psychic that I know ever. She has a massive media CV that goes along with her psychic career. She was one of, if not the first psychics through the doors at Psychic Today, back then known as Psychic Interactive. She's done work for MTV, Most Haunted, Big Brother. She's been in literally every magazine going, including Elle Japan. So let's bring her on. Hello, Inbaal.
Hello, Tor. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm wonderful. Well done. And, congratulations for your show.
Thank you very much. It has been going quite well, I have to say. I am a little bit pleased with myself.
You should be. And I'm so flattered to be part of your season finale. I'm so thrilled to have been asked.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, it's actually a real genuine pleasure to have you on, because I'm just going to say it, Inbaal, you are actually an idol of mine.
Oh, that's incredibly... I don't even know how to respond to something like that.
Well, you know, I've been watching you for such a long time. I've been watching you since I was a young teenager, maybe about 12 or 13.
Goodness me.
Since before Psychic Interactive, you know, I watched you on bits and pieces. So a lot of our listeners probably do know you because, I mean, let's face it, you are a bona fide celebrity psychic, if you don't mind me saying.
That's very kind of you, but I actually think that with a big portion of your listeners being, computery people, young people, social media people, I think there's a whole generation that might not know me that well because I'm not on social media. I've taken a break from most media work for the past 7.5 years since I became a mummy again and again and again. And haven't been able to, travel to TV studios as often. I've only been doing about 2 media appearances a year. I think there's a lot of people that know you and have no idea who I am.
Well, that's very flattering as well. We're just flattering each other tonight, Inbaal.
It's a good start.
So with that in mind, with maybe people not knowing who you are, although I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Tell us a little bit about your psychic beginnings. When did you sort of realise I'm psychic, I can do this professionally? Tell us a little bit about that journey for you.
The professional thing, or really every step of the way, came about completely by coincidence, or was it?
Or
Because
was
really,
it?
even sort of going back to when I was a young child, I remember stuff like, we'd have kind of a game at school, and the teacher would show us a picture, and then what would happen next, and then what would happen after that. And I always knew what the answer was. And because I was quite a bright child, apart from that, and I could read before everybody else, I was quite strong at maths. I thought that knowing what will happen after was just one of those things that just came with the territory.
Right.
It was only much later that when I lived in Greece, and the lady who I stayed with, who is still a fantastic friend of mine and still lives in Greece, just pulled out a deck of playing cards and said, let's have a look what's in store for us for tonight. And that was sort of my first experience of a reading. And that was just something fun that we did together. And sometimes I'd do the reading and sometimes she would. We didn't really involve other people in that. She would mostly just read for herself. But as I went out into the world, I mean, that was when I was 20. So as I went out into the world and met more people, it turned out that not everybody did cards all the time. And then I bought myself a pack of tarot cards identical to her tarot cards, just that mine had the captions in English and hers had captions in German, and sat with it for long nights by myself and basically got to the bottom of them. And me and the cards became very, very firm friends. And when my first boyfriend cheated on me, my
Yeah.
tarot deck told me. It was a message that was very hard to accept, but also a very important lesson in how your tarot will never lie to you. And the more I'd read for friends, the more the feedback would suggest to me that people who were professional psychics might be at, say, a similar level, yet unwilling to expose the truth in all its ugly glory,
Yes.
compared with the readings they received from me. And I had a very, very good friend who'd since passed away in tragic circumstances. But when she was young and beautiful and I was young, we sat and did her tarot. And I said, I'm sorry, I think your boyfriend's cheating on you. And her boyfriend was living in Africa at the time. And I said to her, I see him with a blonde girl. And I kind of said, where would he find the blonde girl? You know, he was in quite a rural area, not a lot of foreigners there. And she said, that's his best friend. That's Claire. I'm sure you're
Wow.
right. And it transpired that he was cheating on her. It wasn't long after that he rang up to confess. And she said I should set up a shop and
Wow.
charge money for what I do and go on TV and do it. And she was a Capricorn, very wise and very clever
Yeah.
with understanding marketing and businesses and how to set up the right customer with the right practitioner. And everything she said came to pass. So one day when I was 25, I decided to leave my shop job. And my boss at the time, as if by magic, decided to shut the shop I was working in and focus on a different branch. And he basically agreed for me to go away for a month, see how it goes, and come back if it didn't work out. And that was our plan.
Yeah.
But it was never it was never going to happen. I was never going to go back to working in the shop. I was going out there, and there was no success or failure. it was going out there and doing this. And it was very clear for me, and it was very clear for him. And in fact, if I had wanted to come back a month later, there would be no shop to come back to, because he knew I wasn't coming back as well, and he went and focused on his own ventures. And it really wasn't long after that I started doing media stuff. I went on Living TV's Mystic Challenge,
Yes,
which
weren't
was a
you?
very old experimental, not quite reality show, where it was almost a contest between psychics to see who could come up with the largest amount of right answers. And then I went on a couple of radio shows, and I went on Kilroy, which I'm sure half your listeners don't even remember Kilroy. They don't remember me, but Kilroy was even before that. And, it all mushroomed from there. I've even forgotten half of it, living the mummy life, but you asking has really twigged my memory. Goodness, it has been quite a journey.
You've had an absolutely fantastic journey, and you've explained that so well there. You've explained that in such nice
Thank you.
detail. And what an amazing, what an amazing start and continuation of your career. Now, just as you mentioned a lot of those shows there, you mentioned Mystic Challenge, and weren't you actually the youngest psychic on there at the time?
I was 25. I wasn't surprised that they picked me, because the screening process, in my opinion, was so simple. They just needed for me to do readings and for the readings to be correct.
Right.
So the fact that I didn't really have much of a background didn't stand in my way at all. Some of the people there were very established. It was people like Robin Lone and Raymond Castrogiovanni and Avril Price. There were people that at the time I didn't really know, but when I met them, I was really overwhelmed by how established they were and how much of a background they had, and how many years of experience they had. And I had, at the time, 3 to 4 months professional experience, but all the screening process needed that was needed for the show was to get your readings right. And I knew I could do that. I knew I could do that easy. And I found the shows very easy. And I was on 6 shows. And in the end, you get like a, win or lose, which one got the reading better. I won 2, which kind of means I lost 4, but I had a percent of the experience that other people did. So it was really going in the deep end, but going in the deep end has been my way of doing things in everything in my life since babyhood. So it suited me just fine.
Yeah, and winning 2 out of the 6 shows actually is absolutely fantastic, because if you were, let's say, a singer and you entered 6 talent shows where you were singing, winning 2 would really be
right,
fantastically celebrated. That would be like winning X Factor and Pop Idol, for example.
Yeah, I think if you close up on my face in the first one that I won, you can see the an unbridled shock at winning, and I was actually quite embarrassed. I sort of shuffled away as soon as the cameras were finished. I didn't want to catch the eye of the psychic with 25 years experience that I had just won over. Although we did meet again, and then I was beaten myself. Although the concept of competition in a psychic reading really is quite laughable. That was a very media thing, isn't it? Because it made for good TV. What was really incredible is that when we did those readings for the celebrity guests at the time, we weren't allowed to know who they were. We didn't know whether they were male or female. We didn't know what their background was, age, nothing. They'd put them in a big cloak and a balaclava.
Yeah.
And they would just sort of come in the room. If they sat with a medium, then they'd sit, and the medium would just say everything they needed to say to a production assistant that wrote everything down in pen and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, no tablets, no smartphones, no nothing. And for me, because I'm very much a tarot girl, I just got the person to shuffle the cards and then they went off on their merry way. And really, in retrospect, it might have worked out better if the person had stayed in the room while I said what I had to say. And in fact, those celebrity guests had said as much themselves
Yeah.
in the kind of making of documentary behind my back. They said if I'd sat with a tarot girl, I'm sure she'd have got a lot more stuff. And it was really extraordinary details that you get when no questions are asked and no background is given.
Yeah, it can be absolutely extraordinary, can't it? Because it's almost like a shock, to oneself, to the psychic self, when all this information is coming through, I think.
Yes, it pops out. It pops out, and you think to yourself, "What did I just say? Does that make sense in the real world?" But obviously, to the person receiving the reading, which is the only person that matters in a reading setting, for the person receiving the reading, it means the world.
Absolutely. And I find myself, and I'm sure you find this too, sometimes I'm saying things and it's like, it's words that I wouldn't even use. Do you find that? It's words that you might not even.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could even be in a different language, in a language you've never
Yes.
spoken.
Yes.
I had the funniest experience doing a reading in a psychic fair once. I was doing the reading, and of course, I'm not British myself. My mother tongue is Hebrew, and I was getting messages in Hebrew. And I said to the girl in front of me, I said, "It's really funny. I have no idea. I'm getting messages in my mother tongue. I don't know if this is because my own guides have suddenly decided to, go back to their origins." And she said, "What is your mother tongue?" And I said, "It's Hebrew." And she said, "No, they're messages from my dad. He spoke Hebrew."
Wow.
Yeah, but you've had stuff like that happen. I've had stuff like that happen when I received a reading and I was given very Judaic symbols,
Yeah.
just so that the spirit side makes the link with your earthy side.
That's that's absolutely fantastic. I'm a little bit in awe as you as you're saying
Oh,
that.
but it's all stuff that you do as well. I feel so comfortable, you know, um, doing doing the show, being interviewed by somebody who understands how all
Yeah.
those things work.
And most of our listeners will understand that as well. Obviously, there'll be people listening who are new to the psychic world, and this is partly what the show is about. It's about educating them. And
Yeah.
you did mention playing cards and tarot cards as you were describing your experiences there. Can you tell us a
Mm.
little bit about how you work with the playing cards and with the tarot deck, and maybe just a tiny little bit about the differences between those, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different theories about where, divination cards had come from. And the playing cards as we know them now do bear a relation to tarot cards. So they're not a completely, impossible to mingle pair of species. When we go back into all the different types of cards there were in history, they would be used, and it would be like a very, very old version of tarot, very, very old version of playing cards. They kind of crossed over. They would be used to help the court poets in not in a court of law, obviously in the um, ancient courts of Venice.
Yeah.
They would help the poets come out of writer's block. So they would write a wonderful poem about the lady of the court, and they'd be stuck on a line, and they'd turn a card over and use the imagery there to carry on writing. And really, the distance between doing that and telling the future is it's a very, very short leap. You're
Yeah.
using the imagery as an open book to read what's right in front of you. So those kind of ancient cards, what I'm describing is the very first deck of cards. It was called Tarocchi, and we're not talking about ancient history. We're talking about 1444 in Italy. They were put together for a marriage between the Visconti family and the Sforza family, two very aristocratic families in kind of old Italy. Those cards were to develop towards the tarot we know today,
Yeah.
which I use really just by reading the imagery. I love an ornate tarot deck myself. I don't really like a 7 of Wands with a picture of 7 wands.
Yeah.
I like to see lots of layers, a background, a foreground, all the bits around, bits in the middle. I want to see shapes, circles, people. I prefer for the people to have no expressions,
Yeah.
so that my own psychic mind can then overlay the expressions on them to, make the reading that much deeper. So in that respect, something like the Rider Waite deck really comes into its own.
Yeah.
Dull of a deck as it is, at least the images don't tell you the story. You have to tell the story from the images. Now, the same kind of deck as the Visconti Sforza and so on will also, in a different path, develop into the playing cards that we know today, for suits, and just sort of different numbers. Now, the way I read them, all the fours are houses. So say the 4 of Diamonds will be the house of a dark-haired person. The 4 of Spades will be the house of a dark-haired person. The 4 of Diamonds will be the house of a blonde person. And we kind of go by hair colors with that. Now, I learned it in Greece from a German-speaking lady. So I still use the funny dialect that she would use as I read them completely inadvertently. You will meet a dark man and he will turn the cards over and he will tell you a secret. And I take card after card, so that we kind of weave a story. And the way I read the playing cards and the way I read tarot cards is very similar. And even if you threw a deck at me that I've never seen before, I'd read it the same kind of way.
I
Just
am
like
so glad that you said that, actually.
ah, was
Because
was that a topic of curiosity?
yes, a couple of episodes ago, it was a solo show, touched on the beginnings of card reading, and what I was saying as part of that information was that when you get used to a way of reading, the way that you read one deck of cards will be the same usually as you would read another deck of cards. It will be the same sort of things that will trigger the same sort of abilities, I find.
That's right, because you're reading with your own personality. And like I said, what really matters is the person receiving the reading. That's the only person that matters. So you're reading with your own personality, but even then your personality is diminished. It's not part
Yes,
of it at all. The dialogue really is between the messages and the person receiving the reading. I think in so many ways, there's no better pamper session than receiving a reading. Do you know what I mean?
I
Because
agree.
it's
Yeah,
all about you. Your soul is receiving the guidance that it needs, and then you're free to move forward with your life. But yeah, any card I'll read in the same kind of way. And I actually used to do a little gag, just for breaking the ice, where I'd have a pack of cards where they're all identical,
yeah,
and the reading would still be just as valid, because, say, when you look at the first card, you'll notice a circle that's round to the side, and you'll feel like that's a coin. There's, maybe it's a money, a work question. And then the next one, you won't notice that circle at all. You'll take a card and you'll see a pair of eyes at the bottom, and you'll think somebody looking over you, and so on and so forth. You can do it from a whole bunch of blank cards. The reading will still be the same reading. They're only tools. They're very beloved tools,
yeah.
but they're only tools.
Do you have a special deck that you like to stick to, that you like to use every day or most days? Do you have like a
I
favorite
I
deck?
do. I do. I used to chop and change. It's part of the learning process. It's a lot of fun. And when you're a creative person, you like colors and stuff. I used to chop and change. And then I ended up just sticking to my beloved soft deck.
Yay.
Only beginners change their drink,
Yeah.
as bar people across the world will tell you. And the soft deck tells me everything I need to know and tells me new things all the time. You always discover little things because the soft deck is so detailed.
Yes, it
And
is.
you'll learn a new meaning of a shape or a color, and all of a sudden you'll realize that it's in like 5 cards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those 5 cards will come in every reading that you then do.
The Thoth deck, I think, personally, is absolutely exceptional and exquisite.
I find it very magical.
Yeah.
The Thoth deck doesn't care what you want to get out of the reading. It's going to give you what it wants to give you, what you need to know.
Yeah.
It's not going to tell you what you want to find out. It tells you what you need to find out. You want your life to be better? Get ready to hear some truths.
I love that. So let's just go back a little bit to the beginning of your career.
Yes.
Mentioned in the intro that you were one of the first psychics through the door at Psychic Today, or back then it was called Psychic Interactive, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I was actually the first phone psychic in the studio. And for a couple of shows, there were a pair of presenters, kind of psychic. They would talk about different topics such as Reiki and power animals and so on. So it wasn't necessarily a conversation about the psychic. There were no texts on screen or anything. It was really an all-encompassing spiritual show. And then whoever wanted a reading would ring the girl in the bottom of the screen, and that was me. Received a few phone calls, did a few readings, and then one day the phone lines weren't working, so I just joined the presenting team. And the producer of that show said, "Yeah, I think we're going to use you a lot more on camera." So they did.
Yeah, and you were there for quite a long time. Now, what was it like while that was building up? And also, what I would like to ask you as well, did you have any inclination while that was building up, and while you were working there, and while you went from the girl in the box to the girl on the camera, did you have any inclination at all that it was going to develop into something that was, going on for nearly 15 years and became a big international format? Or was it just kind of like, let's just do this and see what happens?
The first question is simple. What it was like when it was building up, it was the most fun ever. First of all, because it was a never before seen format and nothing much was expected from it.
Yeah.
We were left to make our own mistakes and go through our own learning curves. And no one said, "Oh, you must, make a certain amount of calls, or you have to rush through the readings," or anything like that. We could stick to our own ethics and do things the way we saw best. And we had an incredibly supportive producer who had no background in any spiritual things,
Yeah.
but was incredibly creative and wanted to try different things. It was the most fun ever. I was there for, is it 4.5 years? It seemed like a really long time because I was never in a job for that long before. And because I was, the first one through the door and saw everybody as they arrived, saw everybody's audition as they were coming up, and helped train every single person there that was there for the next 10 years. Now, even though, your second question, we didn't know that it would keep going and become such a huge phenomenon.
Yeah.
The timing, you can't forget about the timing. The timing was really crucial. It was just as reality TV was kicking in.
Yes.
And I remember saying that in a reading in a meeting, in a production meeting, about once a year, everybody would meet up the new producer. By then we'd had like a head of production because it was already becoming a juggernaut. But I remember raising my hand and saying that the next big thing after reality TV will be interactive TV, because
Yeah.
reality TV invited you to come and vote for the winner. It was when Big Brother had started, and the dance shows and the sing shows. So reality TV was already becoming interactive, and I said that fully interactive TV, where you get to decide everything, and when the show is essentially about you, if you're sending in a text,
Yeah.
is the next big thing. That producer giggled about it. That producer, as I understand, is no longer producing TV shows, and I turned out to be right. I
You were
know I sound like
absolutely
Alan
right.
Partridge when I say stuff like that, but it really was the timing.
Yeah.
Because if we hadn't put together an interactive psychic show, someone else would have come up with the idea, and then their idea would
And
have been the juggernauts.
and of course it did take off internationally. Like I say, I'm not sure how aware you might be of that. There's versions in Germany, Australia, practically everywhere, India.
When
The
I was there, there was the UK and Ireland,
Yeah.
and then just as I was leaving, I was meant to go to Prague, I think, to do the pilot for their show, but I was too pregnant to fly by then.
Yeah.
So I didn't. So I knew that it was starting to send its little tentacles around the globe, but I didn't know it went as far as India.
Yeah, the Indian one actually it dual broadcasts in the UK, so maybe when you're flicking through the channels, have a quick look. It's actually quite good. And other people have tried it in the UK as well, haven't they, Inbaal?
Yeah, I
Um,
was I was actually involved with
yeah,
other
Psychic
people.
and Soul. Tell us what it was like going from one that was, as you say, a juggernaut to another one that was, a baby. Was there a big difference, or was it the same?
It was different because it was run by different sorts of people. Now, there's an immense amount of satisfaction from going into something that's a nothing and turning it into a something. But whereas on Psychic TV, Psychic Interactive, Psychic Today, the emphasis at the start was to hire the people who were genuinely psychic and who could do lots of readings. The emphasis in Psychic and Soul, which was filmed at the time very far outside London,
Yeah,
was to basically get who was willing to drive all the way out there at the time, which is not meant in a disparaging way at all.
yeah,
But there's 10 million people living in London.
yeah,
It only goes to reason that about 12 of them would be genuine, working, gifted psychics, and then there are people like Anne Scholes and Raymond Castrogiovanni, name checked for the second time, and in this very show, and others who would be transported into London because they were so crucial for
yeah.
for the genuine feel of the brand. But no, there's an immense amount of satisfaction from building something
And
and,
with
and creating it.
sorry.
It's just Psychic TV was really built by the psychics because the production team we had at the time listened to everything, and that was very unique.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think there's very many other shows where they just listen to the talent. And I don't think that's exclusive to psychic shows. I doubt the people on the current scripted reality shows get to have much say in what way their, plots develop.
No, no, they don't really, do they? Because, like you say, it's scripted reality. They are put in the specific situation. So,
Situation, that's right. Stuff that would make good TV.
yeah, I
The
think.
first, the first 3 or so years of psychic TV, they were just happy that we turned up and had lots of fun and all got on together. We used to finish a show and then go and hang out together for the rest of the day. Do you know, in the beginning, you must remember the shows were 2 hours.
Yeah, tiny
To
shows.
us, that's it. But 2 hours is a huge TV show. What other show have you got for 2 hours? Now it's on the whole day.
Yeah, right through
So
to
it
one
was
o'clock in the morning.
completely innovative right from the start. But yeah, we'd finish a 2 hour show and then we'd go and have lunch together and spend the afternoon together.
That's absolutely lovely that you all got on so well. And with Psychic Today, after you had a break, you went to Psychic and Soul for a while, you had a break from interactive television for quite a few years, still doing other media stuff though. And then you went back to Psychic Today for the 10th anniversary. That must have been absolutely surreal to go back there after such a long
It was
break.
mind blowing. It was mind blowing. It was, first of all, it was a different studio. So that was confusing already.
Yeah,
But back in the day, because we're just figuring out how everything works, we'd run right in, put our makeup on ourselves
yeah,
on the stairs and burst in, and and every minute mattered, and you didn't want to let anyone down.
yeah,
Um, I went in for the 10-year anniversary. We'd agreed that I would go in a couple of months before, and then they were doing like teasers, guess who's coming back, and interviews and stuff. All of that was just sort of such high production values compared to
yeah,
what I was used to. And then I walked in and I was like a minute late, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'll just put my makeup on quickly in the car because it was a long drive to get there.
yeah,
And they were like, no, that's all right. Can we get you a hot drink? Just go into the production office. I'm like, the what? Go into the production office, have a cup of tea, talk to the producer. Then you go into the green room, introduce you to the what? I haven't seen a green room since goodness, since Gilroy. Um, so it was mind blowing to kind of meet. When if you've got friends you don't see for a long time and you go to the baby's christening and then the
yeah.
next time you see them it's at their wedding. It's like that. When did all this happen? When did everything develop into such a slick, sophisticated working machine? But yeah, it was mind blowing. I felt like as a psychic, I was very well looked after, very well respected there. The some of the producers had been there the entire 10 years.
Yeah.
So they, could do their work with their arms tied behind their backs. It was really, really mind blowing. Everything was so developed
Yeah.
and in step with itself.
Yeah, I really have to agree with you. Everything there is very slick now. When I've been to the studio, I have to say I've been very well looked after. The head producer was making me cups of coffee, for goodness sake. You
Oh,
wouldn't get that anywhere else.
no, no, but anywhere else you have, runners
Wow.
who do all of that. But yeah, I think I've got to respect them for not having any unpaid interns running around,
Yeah.
35 hours a week as well.
Yeah. I agree. You know what? I
But
have to
now
say,
we're just descending into gossip. We could keep going like that for like 2 hours.
we
How much
could. We
fun it
could.
is, how great everyone is, how the production team and the psychic team do everything to kind of work hand in hand so that the back and forth report is on point.
But doesn't it just show you, like, as two psychics who've worked on Psychic Today at completely different times, unfortunately we've never worked there together, doesn't it just show
So
you
am
that
I.
the two of us talking about it so favourably, and the excitement in our voices picking up, doesn't it just show you how good a place it is?
Absolutely, it's the funnest job I've ever had.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Although working by myself is really great for me because at the time that I was in Psyche Interactive. And really, the only downside is that because I was working so many hours, if a client would get in touch with me, even if they were in dire straits, I couldn't clear myself to do a reading for them same day, and sometimes not even same week. And when I went to Psychic and Soul, when we were, negotiating what shifts I was going to do and so on, and this is very personal stuff I'm telling you, but I said to them, my private practice comes first. My own clients come first, because if they go to the effort of seeking me out personally and they need a reading right then, that's when they should get it.
I agree that, I'm the same. My private practice comes before anything else as well. Now, just moving on a little bit from there, I just want to end that little section with saying I absolutely love Psychic Today, and I loved Psychic and Soul. You touched on Big Brother slightly there, and I think you know what I'm going to ask you.
Go on.
You were involved with Big Brother in a couple of different ways. You were involved with talk show Little Brother, as it was at the time, and in a few other ways as well. But the thing that really intrigues me is that you were asked to do Big Brother boob readings.
Yeah.
What on earth was that like? How did that come about?
First of all, it was The Sun, which might be kind of a very tabloid, but they are huge on puns and they're huge on originality. Two big favorites in my life in general. The chappie that rang me said, "Hi, I'm speaking from the Sun newspaper. We want to get some," what did he call it? Whatever, the mammary readings, mammography, something like that. No, that's not right. Mammomancy, that was it. Mammomancy, mammary, mancy as in reading. And I said, sure, because when you get a media query, you always say sure. And he said, can I show you some photos? Can I come and meet up with you, show you some photos, and you can read from them? And again, if you think about it, that's before he could send me like an email to my phone with all the images. So we had to meet face to face. It was lots of fun. It was right after shift on Psyche Interactive. So we were all going to that lunch together, as we always did. And me and the chappie from the Sun just went to a different table, and he showed me some screen grabs from the actual show. So it wasn't like they went through, the contestants' bins and found pictures that they'd secretly prepared for their intimate partners. It was screen grabs from the actual show. So it was, boobs that everyone got to see if they were happy enough to pay their license fee. And I read them exactly the way I would read a tarot card, exactly the way I would read the crystal ball, and I also do photograph readings. So that was really, really easy. So, for example, the winner of that series was Nadia, who was a trans lady, and therefore her boobs were obviously constructed, and they were very perfect, very direct. So immediately that showed that she was a direct kind of person. We've got both tips pointing the same way in the photo, which, the other girls who had been born girls, tips don't point in the same direction. I don't want to sort of take it too far in your mind. So that was sort of very different to everybody else. And I said, that's somebody who knows where they're heading. And so far, of course, some of the reading would have to do with their shoulder position, with their posture, and with whatever I was getting energetically from it. But there was really no difference between those boob readings and a tarot reading. No disrespect to, Mr. Crowley and the Thoth deck.
That's absolutely fascinating. I could listen to you talk for hours. I honestly could. I could, because you describe everything.
I'm sure it's not the case for the listeners, though.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure they're absolutely loving it because you describe everything so nicely. I almost forget that I'm presenting the show.
Yeah, it's your show.
But you describe everything so well. You describe everything with nice detail. It's absolutely fantastic to listen to you. So thank you for explaining all that and for being so open, um, and honest.
It's a pleasure.
With myself and with the listeners. We are going to take just a little break,
Thank you.
just a few seconds break, and we'll be right back after this with some. We're going to get some top tips from you for becoming a professional psychic, if that's okay,
Great.
and some mini readings.
Wonderful.
All right, so we'll be back in just a few seconds.
All right. See you then.
We are back. This is Weave Your Web. This is the autumn season finale for 2017. I am your host, Tor WebWeaver. If you want to keep in touch with myself, if you want to keep in touch with the show, do head over to www.torwebweaver.com. Don't worry if I've said that too fast or you can't get the spelling. It will be in and around wherever you are listening to this. You might be listening to this on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, various places. So just have a look around. That will be there if you want to get in touch with me to have a reading or to get in touch with any questions or comments about the show. Also, do have a little look at www.relaxedreadings.com. That is a brand new psychic platform that I'm spearheading. If you like, you can have video readings there with our advisors. You can also have email readings with some of the advisors there. And there's a little free horoscopes page as well. So have a little look at that if you've got some time. But this show's not about me. This show is all about my lovely, fantastic, beautiful guest, Inbaal. Are you still with me, my darling?
I am still with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a relaxing show because you speak so nicely and calmly and detailed. It's been absolutely lovely to have you on.
Thank you. The pleasure really is all mine.
What would be your top tips for someone wanting to become a professional psychic? You've been doing it professionally now for 20 years, is that right?
Is it? Yeah.
97 you started?
Goodness me, yeah. Yes, it is. That is correct. Yes, about 20 years, a little bit before even, but yeah, about 20 years. And I actually trained quite a few people who are professional psychics themselves. I used to teach tarot in London, and I have a correspondence course that runs pretty much the whole time. And I love supporting people on their psychic journey and their professional journey. I believe that there is enough business for everyone. Yeah. I don't believe there's such thing as competition. I think if you're good, people will come to you, and the right client will come to the right psychic. I don't believe there's anything to be lost and everything to be gained by supporting other people to do what they were meant to do. If you're intended to be a professional psychic, if that is the path for you, I love supporting. And with that in mind, I actually scribbled down, lest my tired brain forget, I actually scribbled down a few thoughts that I have. If you, the listener, would like to be a working psychic, just like me and Tor. Shall I go right into it?
Yes, the floor is yours, my lovely.
Thank you. First of all, and the most important thing, not just in the psychic world and not just in professional world, but in everything, it's so important to be true to yourself. You have to be true. You cannot lie. You cannot rose tint things. You can't give people what they want. You have to stick with the truth. The truth is the highest, most important concept of a psychic reading. No one comes to you to hear lies. No one comes to you to just be soothed. Even if they think they do, that's not the case. The truth is the most important concept you'll work with. And so staying true to yourself, not doing jobs that you feel are dishonest, doesn't matter how much they pay, not telling answers to people that you don't fully agree with in your heart. So true to yourself, stick with the truth. Truth is the most important thing. A thing that separates professional paid psychic from, a mate who does a reading is asking. If somebody says to you, do you know anyone who could do a party for us, do readings at a party, then ask, why not me?
Yeah.
I'll do it. Do you want me to do it? You never want to be the person who didn't get something just because they didn't ask. So always ask if they need something. Say you meet someone who happens to be a magazine editor. Say to them, ask, do you have somebody doing a horoscope for you? Do you have somebody doing mini readings for you?
Yeah.
Ask and see what they say. Now, obviously, you don't come up to someone and say, if you give me a tenner, I'll tell you if you're going to go back in the army. You don't need to ambush people. Just ask, very plainly ask. A funny example I've got is not even me. It's actually one of my neighbors who will refer to as Reiki Lady, mostly because when you and I talk about her privately, we actually refer to her as Reiki Lady.
Yeah.
When I was trying to conceive my third child, I bumped into her in the supermarket, and I sort of relayed that to her, and I said, yes, we're trying to conceive again. It's not really going so well. And she was like, all right, I hope it goes well. And I went to the vegetables and she went to dairy, and that was it in the supermarket. And then when I got to dairy, I found her still standing there, and she said, I can help. I do Reiki.
Yeah.
And it would never have occurred to me. So I got to see that from a client's perspective as well. I was so thrilled that help was offered. And it's exactly the same for you, the fledgling psychic, perhaps listening to it, thinking, does anyone really want my help? Well, some people do, some people don't. If you don't ask, you'll never know. And if they don't want your help, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
So first, true. Second, ask. Third, offer. And really, my third and fourth points are very, very closely linked. Third is offer, as in offer things for free. When I started out, and really, I think for the first 10 years or so, I used to have one free question on my site. And it would sometimes take me a long time to get through it. And not really that many of these people are still my clients. But, and that brings us to the fourth point. My fourth point is experience. Those free questions helped me probably go through about 300 readings a week. Now, granted, they were tiny, but there were 300 separate people that I'd have to tune into. And that helped me build up a body of experience where now I'll walk into any human situation, any emotional situation, and I've probably dealt with it before. Being established for 20 years means nothing. Being established for 20 years and tuning into thousands of people each year means everything. So offer readings free, or, offer readings for a price that is practically free. Offer readings for just your expenses, offer readings for a cut price while you're building up your experience. If you're wanting to become a professional psychic, then go and be a professional psychic, but you got to show that you've got something to offer. So those are my top tips
And
for becoming a professional psychic. I'll go over them just so that whoever's taking notes: be true, ask, offer, and experience. Obtain experience, gain experience, have experience. If anyone says to me, can you recommend someone? I'll recommend you, Tor, because I know all the experience that you've got, because you have got, especially for someone so young. I mean, obviously, you've got 20 years experience yourself because you started as a child,
yeah,
but still, for someone so young, objectively, you have tuned into what I would say is upwards of the tens of thousands of people.
I
And
have.
that's breathtaking.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning, my experience like that in such a lovely way, because, like you, I've done all those points. I've gained that experience. I've been true to myself. I use what tools resonate with me. Some people comment that my tools are a little bit silly or a little bit unusual. I use stuff with Japanese characters on.
I
Um,
think they're fabulous. I get your weekly guidance, and
yeah,
that's where you use your own cards that you so beautifully and creatively put together.
thank
And
you.
I'm completely in awe of them.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That really means a lot. And I've offered stuff for free. I've gained the experience. You can actually still have a free reading on my site if you sign up for my newsletter.
Oh,
Um,
I'm already signed up.
yeah, you are.
But I prefer to have a paid reading with you because I feel like by paying, that's how I say my thank you. That there's never a nicer thank you than giving you my energy, which is symbolized by paying for the reading. I find that it's the nicest gratitude. It's
I
no different to saying, have a drink on me,
yeah,
buy a book on Amazon on me.
yeah. I do as well. I completely agree, and the same back. I much prefer to pay you for when I've got a little question or
Which you always do. And the last point that you didn't say that you stick to, which I know for a fact that you do, is that you ask.
I
You
do,
do
I
ask if
do.
you are in a situation where they know that they can benefit from having a psychic on board. You say, "Oh, it's me.
Yeah,
The
I do.
search is over. The search is over, ladies. I'm right here."
Actually, in kind of both my careers, I had the music career and the psychic career. In both of those, I done a lot of just asking and just offering and being true to myself. In both of those, so those top tips, although they were specifically for becoming a professional psychic, they can transfer to other professions as well, I think.
It's the only job I've ever had. So I,
But
I don't even know. I never was anything else. I worked in a shop because, there's not that much to it. You've got to stand around, be able to count,
yeah,
and know your stock so that no one runs away with your stuff. But the psychic thing is my only thing because I know that you are a psychic and also a singer,
yeah,
and my lovely friend Laura is a psychic and also an artist, and my wonderful friend Ephebia is a psychic and also a jewelry designer and also an animal communicator. And for me, I've never had any added value to all of that. I'm only a psychic. I'm so one dimensional in it because I cannot obtain the passion for anything else that I have for psychic work. It's something that so encompasses and encapsulates who I am inside my professional life and outside.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of beautiful in a way. Your whole life is actually dedicated to the psychic path. I think that's absolutely beautiful.
It really is, and there have been people that asked me, they pick up on things that I might be good at, that I might be able to turn into a business. But this isn't a business for me. It happens to be what I do to pay my bills.
Yeah,
But even if it paid zero, it would still be my main thing, and then maybe, I'd do other work to
yeah.
be able to pay my bills. It would still be the core of who I am.
I think I would have to say that for me, for me as well. It maybe took me a while to realize that I started singing very, very young.
Yeah,
But I'm kind of pleased in a way, that the two things have kind of swapped around a little bit, which wasn't my choice. We won't go into all those details here, but
yes.
I'm almost slightly more comfortable with things being the other way around, with the
I
psychic work being
I
in
think
the
there's
forefront.
something to do in being a very sensitive person and not really enjoying all eyes on you, which is ridiculous to say about you and I because both of us obviously work in the media. But the fact that working in a psychic environment means that the focus is on the other person,
Yeah,
that you are called upon to give and not to receive, I find it very appealing.
yeah,
And I think you do too.
I do. That's not to say that I don't love music and that I don't love singing. I do. I absolutely, adore it. But like I say, I am more comfortable with them being slightly swapped around. Now,
Yes.
speaking of doing readings, we do have some questions that have come in to the show specifically for you.
Wonderful.
Word kind of got out that you were coming on. I've had to limit it slightly.
Right.
So I think we've got four, if that's okay.
Great. Yes. Very good number.
And the first question here is from Mel in California.
Yes. Hello,
And
Mel.
Mel asks, what area of my spiritual gifts should I be expanding on? Which is a great question after what we were just speaking about.
That is a great question. And Mel, hi. I hope you've got lovely weather in California right now. Your cards are really, really extraordinary because it shows that you're about to embark on the way that's right for you. Whether or not you plan for it, it's there. It says that you're reaching for the moon. And specifically here, I feel like you'll be specializing in women's interests, women's issues, women's readings and healing. I feel like you'll be working on relationships, but very much from the female side, and I feel like you'll be working with conception and actually, and I hope this is not too controversial, but post-abortion care. So you'll be working with people who have gone through terminations and helping them realign their fertility, their um, heart chakra, and so on. So I feel like you'll be working in the healing fields. I see crystals, and you'll be working very specifically um, with female energies in helping their growth. And I feel like specifically right now in October of 2017, November of 2017, we're very much in the post creep era where people are being called out on inappropriate conduct, where women will be allowed to just be women without others impending and disrupting their every step. I feel like that will be fertile ground for you to go right in and make a difference in many, many people's lives who were perhaps previously defined by their difficult experiences that they didn't choose. You'll show them how to get to the moon, how to get to the life that they want, to get to the life that they choose without expecting a disruption on every step. I hope that helps you, Mel, and don't hesitate to get in touch if you need any extra clarification on this.
Lovely guidance there. Thank you,
Thank you.
Inbaal. We have our next question is from Trina,
Yeah.
and Trina is in St. Louis. And Trina
Yeah.
says, I'm due for a house move. Do you pick up when that might occur, given I'm trying to increase my finances so that it can actually happen?
Right, Trina, let's have a look. The move is there, but you will move before your finances are where you want them to be. I feel like the new place will give you lots more opportunities. Now, it's not like I'm recommending that you get in debt, heaven forbid, but I feel like you will do as much as you can up until July. So that gives us 3/4 of a year. It's a long time. And then you move in August, take up until September to settle down, and then you've got more and more offers of work, more and more offers of little contracts, different contacts. What I'm saying, like I said, it's not that I'm suggesting that you move before your finances are sufficient for moving, but move and start small. Move and start at a place that's a little smaller, a little less leafy, a little less bright than where you're wanting to start. Take advantage of all those opportunities, and then maybe a year later, not even a whole year, go somewhere that is uh, bright and colorful and international. It's not your next place that will be very exciting. It's actually the place after that. So that makes it between 18 and 21 months from now. And that place is somewhere like a Chinese quarter. It looks very international. I'm picking up lots of smells. So there's lots of different food outlets around, and there's even a little river going, but it is really really tiny, so you don't really notice the river until you go walking around there. Have fun, Trina. That sounds like a very exciting year and a half ahead of you.
Fantastic. I hope that was helpful for you, Trina. I really, really do. Thank you for being involved in the show and sending in your question. And our next querent is Angelic Michelle. Angelic Michelle is actually a big supporter of Weave Your Web, so thank you very much for getting in touch again, Angelic Michelle. And she asks, my love life has been quiet as of late. I'm wondering if anything is coming up in that area.
Let's have a look at your love life, Angelic Michelle. Ha! See, you tell yourself that you want a partner who is strong so that you can be, how shall I say it? You can be vague and floaty, but actually you are the one who is strong. And so if somebody who is slightly more controlling were to come to the fore, you would then have a complete conflict of interests. You want to visualize the right relationship for yourself and either assume a personality that is compatible with who you think you are, which is that, kind of floaty and vague and pale blue and watery Angelic Michelle that you think you are, or come to terms with the fact that you are kick-ass. Can we say kick-ass on internet radio?
We can say
That
whatever we
you
like.
are bleep whatever you need to bleep, Tor. Michelle, come to terms with the fact that you are a powerful font of energy, and that perhaps the person that's right for you has got to be a bit more gentle. Because what you're looking for is really not the person that you'd be able to have an easy time of. And once you've chosen either one path or the other, then you've got, I would say, about 4 weeks of searching, and then you hit gold. Thank you, Angelic Michelle, for asking.
Wow, thank you very much for that fantastic reading for Angelic Michelle there. I happen to know as well
Welcome.
that Angelic Michelle thinks that you are very, very talented.
That's a very kind thing to say. Thank you. Clearly been talking about me behind my back. I like that.
We have one more question for you, if that's okay.
Fire away.
And this question reads, Hello, this is Yasmina. I am so excited to have Inbaal do a question for me. My question is, do you see a future for me in food or music?
Thank you, Yasmina. You must be a very creative person if these are the two options. And I see it as food all the way. Music will always be in your life and professionally as well, but I see you more as a special occasion music. So part of, say, a wedding band, something like that, something more giggish and less full-time jobbish. Whereas with food, I feel like you could really go far. You have got a name that has a whiff of the Middle East about it, so that could be why I'm picking up on it. But I actually see a direction in Moroccan restaurants, specialist places. I'm seeing kind of dark red and purple canopies, so that could be the decoration inside. Maybe even sort of working somewhere that simulates the look of a Bedouin tent. But I see you going really far with food. So much so that I feel like the business is actually yours. I see you calling the shots, not just chopping the garlic. Thank you, Yasmina, for the question.
Oh, thank you very much for that. So, we are coming just, to the end of the show here. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you on. It's been an
Thank you. I'm
absolute
so
delight, in
thrilled to have
fact.
done this.
Where can people come to you for a reading? How can we get a hold of you?
Like I said, I'm not actually on social media at all. I have a website. I know it's kind of retro. I have a website which is just my name. So it's inbaal.com. Inbaal is spelled I for India, N for November, B for bottle, A for apple, another A for apple, and L for love. And my email address is just inbaal@hotmail.com. All of this is very retro, but it is not going to change at least for the next 3 or 4 years until my youngest baby starts going to school and I'm able to revamp my online presence. So it's my website, which has all my contact details, everything you need, or straight to email. I am techie forward enough so that your emails get to me right on my phone in my pocket all hours of the day and night. But I only take about 2 hours in the evening to reply to all the emails. So if you've applied for a reading, say a mini reading or a phone reading, and gone through my website and sent me an email, don't panic if you don't hear from me for 24 hours. Inside a 24-hour period, you'll almost certainly get your answer. With mini readings, inside a 24-hour period, you'll almost certainly get your reading. But I'm not replying all the time. So
Can you
don't
explain to
panic.
us what a mini reading is?
Yes, a mini reading is up to 3 questions. The questions themselves can be as long as you like. You can write novels. I'll read them. I'll reply to them. But the answer is only 1 or 2 sentences long. So if we've got questions, just like Yasmina's wanting to know whether it's food or music, that would be a perfect mini reading question. If you've got a big story about a partner who has been missing in action and you want to know whether you'll hear from them again or not, you can put the whole story, but then make sure that there is just the one question mark on the end going, will I hear from them or not? Or
Yeah.
should I get in touch or hold fire? Or is there someone else in their lives? In fact, these are the three questions that I would ask for a mini reading if faced with the exact same situation. And I really don't shy away from any topic at all. So if there's stuff that other psychics said, I don't really want to touch that, I think I'm the girl for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for explaining that, because so many different psychics have so many different types of readings on their site, and the mini reading is a fantastic way to get, I think, very concise guidance, very quick and very concise guidance. As you say, it's within 24 hours, and it's
And it's right there. I've always been very much a question and answer person.
yeah, yeah.
You ask a question, you'll get an answer
That's
in
how I
life
prefer
and
to
in
work.
readings.
Yeah, that's how I prefer to work as well.
Yes,
I think it
yes,
makes
and you
the
do it
connection
very well.
Oh, thank you. I think it makes the connection just that little bit stronger.
That's right, because you're landing in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
There's no need for the background. There's no need for dates of birth or photos. If you want to send them, great, and it does make the connection stronger. But I find that you find your steps so quickly if you just land in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Get to the meaty part straight away, ask the question, the answer will come.
Fully agree. Can I be cheeky?
Yes.
Would you mind pulling just one card, just for the general energy for for all our listeners when they might happen to be listening to this? Just one card, just
a message.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. I'm having a nice shuffle of my cards, picking one card out, and it's the Queen of Wands. Ooh. Which for me means transformation, opening to enlightenment. If you want to remain in the past, by all means do, but nothing will change unless you do. If you want your future to be different, you've got to accept change. You don't even need to do anything. You just have to know that it's coming, be prepared for it. And through that state of hopeful expectancy, you'll see things shifting. And when they shift, they'll shift exactly the way you want them to. It also shows a connection to jewelry and adornment. So for the different people that are listening, this could relate to wearing a crystal. This could relate to perhaps a piercing that they'd wanted to go for and were never quite sure. This could relate to a very meaningful tattoo that they wanted to go with. So we've got some kind of physical adornment to go hand in hand with a spiritual transformation that's indicated there. So I really hope that resonates with you, whoever you are.
I'm sure that will resonate with lots and lots of our listeners. And as I always say, when we give general guidance like that, if it doesn't resonate, that's fine. Don't force it.
Absolutely. But I find that most of the time, if it doesn't, then within a day or two, there's something there. Because wouldn't you agree that, you can't be on the ball for every single reading, and every once in a while somebody will say, I'm not really relating to that. And you'll be like, oh, all right, that's no problem. There's your money back and goodbye. And, a couple of weeks later, you'll get an email and a PayPal going, yeah, you were really right.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, which is fine. You know what? No apology needed.
Exactly. I agree. So we are unfortunately at the end of the show. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so thrilled we got to do this.
So am I. And you've been absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much again. I could say thank you all night. I'll stop.
Yes, exactly. You're welcome. It's actually, I think, in like what do you call it, like manners training, like finishing school, when receiving a compliment, say thank you, don't blush, don't cough.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And
thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. You're welcome. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for joining me these past 3 months. It's been absolutely fantastic producing and presenting Weave Your Web. Sometimes a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but that's okay. I will be back with Weave Your Web around January, February time. I will obviously post on my site the exact date, so do keep your eyes peeled to torwebweaver.com. I almost forgot my own site then. And we will be back in the winter in 2018. Have a wonderful Samhain, have a wonderful Yule, have a wonderful everything, and go power!